You just missed a fantastic meal, if that's the case, but we're glad that you're here because we open it up to the community. So everybody who is here tonight, you're in for a treat. I brought with me, I looked up Don Beebe's stats on the NFL reference online, and put that up on the screen there, Scott. I don't know if you can read all of that, but he played for 3 different teams. For the Bills, he played 1 year for Carolina, and then for the Packers. And his career stats there at the bottom, he scored 23 touchdowns. He was drafted 82nd overall. That's why he's number 82. Did you know that? That's why. And he grew up in Illinois. He went to Canelan High School. So he's a local guy, and we're really happy to have him here tonight. He's going to share a bit of his testimony. He'll share some stories of life in the NFL, and then also life after the NFL. And he'll tell you about his family and some other things too. So as we introduce him tonight, I thought a good way to do that is we've got a highlight film that I found, and he made some phenomenal catches. Like I said, played in the Super Bowl, and so we'll let this roll if you can. Play that highlight reel.
To the players, reality is 1 against 1, move and counter move, helmet to helmet. Nowhere is this conflict more evident than at the fringe of battle where the receiver and cornerback match glares. Here, cunning and speed determine the victor. 1-on-1, the battle where the loser bleeds alone on an open field. Sights are set on one glittering goal. The chance to play and win in the Super Bowl.
If we die together. You can get it done. You can get it done. What's more, you gotta get it done.
There's a gleam, man. There's a gleam. Let's get the gleam. All right, let's go.
ladies and gentlemen, Don Beebe. Come on up, Don.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My favorite play on that video, just so you guys know, was the return against the Bears. Yeah, so how many, I always like to know my audience, so how many Bear fans do we have here? Okay, all right, not too bad. How many Packer fans? Oh, any Bills fans? Oh, we do. Oh, we have several Bills fans, okay. Any Cowboy fans? How'd you get in? I told security, no Cowboy fans, okay. No, that's okay. That's true. Yeah, so, I appreciate showing that video, but I am going to end with that Leon Left play, by the way. As Pastor said in the basement, I've written 2 books and had 3 done on one more done on my life story, which I'm going to say tonight, okay? And this book here, and again, I will say this, I'm not a book guy. I never thought I was a book guy. I never wanted to be a book guy. God just says you're going to be a book guy. And this is my life story, 6 Freaks from Nowhere, because I came from nowhere, and I'm going to tell you that story tonight. You'll say the same thing that I do. How'd you make it? I should have never made it, I'll be honest with you. It was just my calling in life at a very young age. God called me to play sports. And I had a dream and a passion to play sports. I didn't know where that was going to land up, but God took me all the way to a Super Bowl championship and going to 6 Super Bowls. This has turned into a life story movie. The movie is called Run for Glory, and it comes out in 2027. They're actually starting to film May 14th. They already filmed one scene last year, July already, with Coach Levy, who was my coach of the Buffalo Bills and drafted me. He turned 100 years old. They said they better get that scene in the can real fast, okay? No, I love him. Coach Levy to me is on Mount Rushmore, the greatest man I've ever known, which includes my dad and my son. So that's why I think of Coach Levy. Anyway, he plays himself in the movie, and he does the last scene of the movie where I get drafted. He drafts me because I ended up being the first pick of the Bills in the draft. And so the movie's called Run for Glory. It comes out early 2027, and the thing about the movie is it's the first time in movie history, okay, that's never been done before, that my son, will play me, and my son's wife is playing my wife. Yeah, so that's never been done before. I think there's been 3 times in history that the son played the father, okay, but nobody's ever had the son and his wife. And my son, so you know, played 4 years with the Vikings. Any Viking fans? Okay, we'll accept that for that. It's a hard time. I had a hard time struggling when he went to the Vikings, but that's all right. But these 2 books here, I just felt led to write these books. You know, God has taken me through so much as everybody in here. We go through trials. I mean, nobody's immune to trials. We're all going to have to face it. It's how you face it is what matters, okay? And the true character of a man really is when you go through the tough times, okay? And I went through some tough times. And the first one does apply to sports, but I'll be honest with you, the never give up applies to everybody. Everybody in here, okay? You can give up at some point in time in life. And I wrote 12 devotionals of times that I could have gave up. And you're going to hear a lot of them tonight. And I wrote about that in here, and obviously on the cover is the Leon Left play, as you just saw. I'm not going to show it again, but it's rated as the greatest, one of the greatest Super Bowl plays in NFL history, which I don't look at it that way. I was just doing my job, you know. So, and then the other book I felt led was, you know, as a dad of 4 kids, now a grandpa of 5, I felt led to there's so many things that we go through as dads. And how do you handle it scripturally and through faith and get through those tough times as well, being a dad. And so I wrote 12 devotionals on that as well. So I will, after we're done, these 3 I'm going to give away, so I'm going to take questions at the end. The first 3 questions, I'm going to give you, get one of them, all right? So we'll deal with that later. You know, I love doing these things. going all over the country and speaking at different churches all over, especially small town churches. I go to a small town church, okay, way out in the country, okay, and we got, right there that 150 to 200 people as well, and I just love it, okay, and for me, and just listening, today I spent, I don't know if I told you that or not, but I listened to 8 sermons in a row by Pastor Beebe, and really enjoyed them. They're really good. I'm a big eschatology guy. You don't know what that is. It's a study of end times, but I've been studying it since 2010, and so I went right to his sermons on that. It was just really enlightening, really good. And you're fortunate. You go to church here, okay? You're fortunate to have a pastor that preaches the word. It's not just his own words. He's just, it's not a prosperity church. No offense, okay? But he is a man that really understands and studies the word. And he's humble enough to understand it that he's just a guy. Okay, but I love when they constantly preach out of the Word of God, because, me being a head football coach at Roy University, I tell players all the time, there's no way you're ever going to play at Roy University if you don't know the playbook. You can't play. But yet here we are, by Pew Research, that less than 10% of people that go to church read the playbook. Okay? And here this is, that you want the playbook to life, anything that you go through, any question that you may have, how to raise kids, Ephesians 5, Ephesians 8. I mean, how to teach your kids, how to be obedient, Ephesians 6:1. I mean, you just go right down a list of things that you want to learn as a grandpa or a dad, okay? Prayer. The instructions for playbook is right here. And I was very fortunate to have a dad that I grew up in a Christian home. So I'm one of the blessed guys. A lot of kids that I coach, they don't get that. Okay? And that is going to be my whole point tonight. Okay? Is really just kind of encourage you men in here. And some of your grandpas, great. Doesn't stop. My dad's 88. Okay? And he still goes over to Aurora Christian School after hour study hall. Okay? He did Bible study. My brother's the head coach there now. He did Bible study there last year, and 7 kids gave their heart to Christ. Okay? So he's still doing it at 88. It never ends. Okay? I'm 61, and until my dying day, I'm going to be preaching the gospel. Right? And I'm really encouraged about everything that's going on. I love my job at AU. Any AU grads here? None? No AU grads? Okay, that's all right. All right. I did talk to one guy that his whole family graduated from AU, but that's cool. So what I want to tell you really is kind of how did I get to the NFL? Growing up in Cayman, any Cayman grads? No, we're striking out. That's okay. All right. But I went to Cayman. I graduated in the early 80s, and I would say to this to the young kids, and there's a few young kids in there, if you have a dream, a passion and a dream, that you believe that God laid it on your heart, okay, that's the big point. When God lays that on your heart, don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. You know how many people thought I could play in the NFL? One, look at it. Now, my mom would say it's differently. She's 87, she's still alive. Yeah, she's not telling the truth, okay? But I never really talked about it. I just knew at 7 years old, I knew I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to play sports, and I wanted to play for Jesus. I knew that at a very young age, okay? And it's ironic how my story went about, because as I said earlier, I shouldn't have played against God just opened the doors. And when I went to high school, I was a 3-sport athlete, but I only had one school come after me, and that was Western Illinois. Any Western Illinois grads? Okay, we got a few Western 11X, okay, that's good. So I went there in 1983, and it was the first year as a head coach for Bruce Craddock. Now, Bruce Craddock was a former Marine drill sergeant. Yeah. And it was 95 to 100 every day. I went at 165, and I lost 21 pounds in 2 weeks. It's still the worst 2 weeks of my life, okay, when it comes to first time away from home. I was girl sick, and just so you know, before you jump on me, okay, I met my girl sick person in kindergarten. We were born in the same hospital 8 months apart. She now sits out there in the foyer with all the books, okay? We've been married 37 years, we've been together for 56 pretty much. Same class, started dating her junior year, she's the only girl I ever dated, and I got it right the first time. So you young men, as my dad told me, don't screw it up. You find the right one first, and she loves the Lord, and just make sure that I would give you, the best advice I can give to you is this: marry somebody that loves Jesus more than you. Okay, that's very important. We can't screw up those priorities. God has to come first. Okay, then our wives, and then our kids, and then on so down the line. So I knew that at a very young age. When we started dating at King in high school, I knew she was going to be my wife. Well, when I left, it was tough. Okay, losing 21 pounds even amplified it even more. So I left after those 2 weeks. Came back home. Okay, I grew up in Sugar Grove, and I enrolled in Aurora College at that time in 1983. I played basketball. All right, now I always say this: I was a basketball junkie. I wanted to be the next Pete Maravich. Yeah, and not a 5'10". Okay, I was going to play in the NBA, that's for sure. And I got stuck with football because going into my junior year, Kane was a horrible football program, and I didn't even want to play football. My dad forced me. Thank God for smart dads. Okay, and so I played football that year and started to grow the love. In came a new coach, Joe Thorgerson, and then he instilled a love for football, and I knew then I wanted to play in the NFL. Even though I left Western the first time, enrolled at Aurora University, Aurora College at that time, played basketball, I actually quit school at the semester of that year and worked construction for 3 years. All right, now there's three certain things in this story that I want you just to really make an emphasis on, that it had to be Jesus. It had to be God. Because there's just no other explanation for it. And so when I went back in 1983, when I left there, and now this is May of 1986, and I'm working construction, making good money, felt like, I was getting married, do all this stuff, and then I had a day where I was in the peak of a 3-story building, putting on that last piece of siding. Anybody work construction in here? Okay, so one thing about construction, guys, and I was one, we always talk about how good we were in high school. So here I am, I'm putting this piece on the 3-story, and the staging caught some wind. I froze. I couldn't move. And from that point on, I was scared of heights. I couldn't even get off the ladder, and I had to be helped down, and I got down to the ground, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I think God said, no, I've got something else better for you. So while I was praying during the whole spring of '86, and I started kind of leaning in this direction, I was like, I don't know where to go, God. Who am I going to turn to? So my brother-in-law, who is a big Bears fan, I grew up a Bears fan, unfortunately. I don't say that too often, but I did. Okay? He said, well, May in 1986, the Bears are having a mini camp. Now, if you don't remember, 1986, okay, they just won the Super Bowl. All right, they're 1-0, by the way. 4-1. Okay, all right, that was for the Packer fans. All right, so he talks me into trying to go walk on to the Chicago Bears. I'll be playing down college football, right? So I go to Lake Forest. I'm sitting in the stands. I'm thinking, man, there's Willie Galt, Dennis McKinnon, Walter Payton, Jimmy McMahon. I'm thinking, I think I can do that. But I didn't know who to turn to. But again, growing up a Bear fan, I know who Bill Tobin was. Bill Tobin was the general manager. He sitting 2 rows behind me. And I was like, oh man, I gotta go up and ask him. My wife or girlfriend at that time, Diane, was sitting there. And I was like, I can't do it. I was just too shy. And she goes, well, you don't go ask him. I'm going to. I was like, well, I can't let that happen. So I walked up, typical Bear guy. He had his hat on and glasses and his legs crossed. And he's taking notes of probably the things that happened on the field, right? And I walked up to him. I'm standing in the aisle. And I go, Mr. Tobin, I said, what would it take to get a trial with the Chicago Bears? And he didn't look at me. It was just typical rude Bear people. It's just like, so he goes, we don't take kids off the street. And I was like, okay. Well, I knew Willie Galt could run, but I had no idea. Up until this time, I had no idea how fast I could run, right? But I knew he could run. And I said, well, what if I could run a 4.2 or 4.3 40? And now he looks at me, puts down a shade, he says, son, if you could run that fast, you'd already be in our camp or you'd be in somebody else's camp. Thank God that was my extent with the Chicago Bears, right? That was done. I came home pretty dejected and had no idea where I was going to turn and go. And then all of a sudden I get a call. Now this is the first thing I want you to realize of how God works. Okay? It would have been June of 1986. Again, where am I going to go, God? Do I go back? I didn't know who to return to. The phone rings. I pick It was Coach Craddock from Western Illinois. 3 years later, now think about this for a second. I'm a college recruiter. If a kid comes to Aurora University this fall and he's there for 2 weeks and then he leaves, I'm not going to know his name, okay, within a month, and for sure a week, maybe after he left. And why didn't Western Illinois call me the first year? I wasn't ready. Got to do it. Why didn't he call me the second year? I wasn't ready. But 3 years later, a school's going to call you back? I mean, that has to be hot. So I said, hey, Coach, how you doing? He goes, man, we'd love to have you come back here. And I said, man, I'd love to come back. Answered prayer, right? He goes, but I got to tell you something, Don. He goes, when you started your 1983, your eligibility clock started. So you've already lost 3 years and you only have 2 years left. And I was like, man, answer to a dream, play in the NFL and go back and play, go back and play college. I said, it don't matter. If this is really God's calling, I'm following that. So I went back, went through the whole camp again in 1986. At the end of 86, they find out I'm ineligible, but I lack of transfer credit hours from Aurora University. 4.5 credit hours short because I dropped out, right? So I was dejected. I left. You start to question, why did you bring me back here, God? And then now I got to go back to Obansi Junior College and pick up the transfer credit hours and transfer back now in the spring of 1987. Okay, with only 1 year eligibility and a passion and dream playing national football league. Crazy. Okay? Which brings me now to my second most amazing part of this story. I went through all the spring drills, okay? And at the end of the spring drills, I just happened to be in math class with a tank top on, jeans, shorts, and sandals, right? Normal college attire. And every day I would walk around Western Hall, which is the indoor track of the basketball court, and I would walk to Wetzel Hall, where my dorm was, across the parking lot. But this day I just happened to walk into Western Illinois, Western Hall. Again, guy. Why? I don't even remember why I went in there. But I walked in there and there were 5 NFL scouts, tiny guys that were going to be seniors in the 40-yard dash. That was me, but I wasn't invited. Okay? And I always say this is the second thing. My NFL career started before I ever played one down of college football. Let me say that again because I don't think it registered. My NFL career started before I ever played one down of college football. And this is how it happened. It's on this day. When I walked in, I saw what was going on. I walked up to the coach. I said, hey, coach. He goes, what's going on? He tells me that, there's 5 scouts here and one, a real big guy, bald-headed guy, and had like 3 watches around his neck and a star on his chest, right? Which we won't mention that team. Okay? And they were like 40 yards down there, and I'm talking to the coach, and I was like, man, I'd really like to run. He goes, no, you're not on any film. Let's not waste any time. I said, coach, that'd be so cool. He says, well, let me go ask the guy. So he walks down there, talks to the star on his chest, and you can see the reversing. And the guy just said, yeah, let him run. Who cares? So coach comes back, and he goes, down here, let him run. Let's get in line. I said, coach? He goes, no, Donnie. I said, can I go back to Wetzel Hall, my dorm room, and get my running shoes and warm up a little bit? No. Kick your shoes off, get in line. So this is the first time I ever ran 40. Was in jean shorts, no warm-up, and barefoot. Okay? And if you could have heard me pitter-patter down the track, it was quite the scene. Okay? When I got done, and I turned around, and I started coming back, that star on the chest was coming on a beeline for me. Now, just so you understand what pro days are like, those scouts don't talk to players. They don't talk to anybody. They're taking their notes and doing their own thing, and they're keeping it as secret as they can, and they don't talk to nobody. But this guy, he wanted to know who this guy was. Comes up to me, he goes, what's your name? I go, Don Beebe. He goes, what number are you on film? I said, well, I'm a 5th year senior, I never played before. He starts laughing at me. He says, Don, son, I've been doing this 21 years. I've never timed anybody this fast. And he showed me the watch, and it was a 4.32. And I looked at him and I said, is that good? He said, yeah, that's pretty good. So there's my career started right there. Okay? And that's, again, how God works. He put the bug in these people's ears by running in front of 5 NFL scouts, and then they started to notice me. So I went through Western Illinois that senior year. I was out of eligibility, and I was ready to enter the draft. Okay, I mean, here, this is a dream, right? People are saying, hey, just put your name in the draft, but any scout that you would talk to, they said, you're never going to get drafted. And if you get a free agent shot, it would be 1 in a million, pretty much. And somebody, one of the coaches at Western Illinois told me, he says, you can play at an NAI school. I was like, what's the NAI? He says, it's totally separate from the NCAA. NCAA goes off 4 and then 5 years of register. NAI goes off of 10 semesters. Okay, so I actually could have played 2 more years at an NAI, but he said, why don't you check out an NAI school? So I go back to Sugar Grove. I go to the Sugar Grove Library. You know, we didn't have Google then. Okay, so I go to the Sugar Grove Library and look up NAI schools. And I'm looking up, you know, teams that are going to be really good, right? Okay, ones that throw a lot of passes, one that's close to home. I'm engaged to be married to Diana at this time. Everything in the world's eyes, okay, was perfect at this one school, and that school was Benedictine. In Lyle, Illinois, 20 minutes from home. It was perfect. But I'll be honest with you guys, when I went through that and I met with the coach, I felt like this is not where God wanted me. And I would say this, when we go through life and we really want something, but you feel this angst in your spirit, and the only way you can feel this is you got to know Christ, and then you got to read His Word, and you got to be obedient, and you got to be in prayer. Okay? And I felt like this wasn't the spot for me. And that struggled. So I literally had about a week left to make my decision because I had to transfer in the spring of '88 to be eligible for the fall of '88. Now I'm NCAA and NAI expert at rules, just so you know, okay? And all of a sudden I was praying, I was like, God, we really need to rush God. Okay, I got literally a week left, God. And then literally the next day, I'm walking through the kitchen and the phone rang. So this was back when we had phones on the wall. Okay? And the phone rang, and I picked up the phone, and he goes, is this Don? And I said, yes, Don. He goes, hey, Don, this is Coach Smith, Brad Smith. Now, I knew the name because in 1983, when I was at Kane High School, he recruited me when he was at Western. So I had a relationship with him, and I knew him. He says, I hear you're looking for an NAI school. And I'm thinking right away, this is an answer to prayer. Thank you, Lord. And he goes, yes, I am at an NAI school. And I heard that you were looking for one. I said, I am. And I go, where are you at? He goes, I'm in Shadron, Nebraska. I said, what? He goes, Shadron, Nebraska. Now, I'll be honest with you, I knew where Iowa was. Nebraska, I had no idea where that state was, okay, at 20 years old, whatever. And he goes, well, go get your atlas. Again, I'm showing my age. So I ran out to my dad's truck, his work truck, grabbed the atlas, came back in. I'm flipping to get to the state of Nebraska. I'm looking around Omaha and Lincoln and, you know, movie theaters and people. I know. Look up in the northwest corner, Donnie. One dot, Shadron, middle of nowhere. I was the end of the earth. Has anybody ever been at the end of the earth in Shadron? Yeah, one dot. See, 2 dots. Oh, 3 dots. Wow, that's impressive. So I said to him, you know, Coach, I appreciate you calling me. There's no way I'm coming to Shadron. Okay, I'm engaged to be married. I mean, come on. I can't go all the way to Shadron. 15 hours from here. And he goes, and he still today is the greatest recruiter I've ever met. And he said to me, he goes, and he knew who I was. He goes, hey, you pray about it. Pray about it. I said, okay, I'll give you that. I'll pray about it. Thinking there ain't no way. I don't even care what God says, right? So my prayer that night, there's certain prayers that we always remember, right? Well, this one I do remember. And I got on my hands and knees by my bed, just a kid, and I just started praying, and I said, God, don't send me to Shadron. That was it, man. I got in the bed, pulled the covers on my head, and I said, there ain't no way I'm fighting it. God, I'm not going there. Next morning I woke up and I had this sense of peace that could only come from the Lord about a place that I had never been to, let alone even the state. And I was like, oh man, God, really? I don't want to go there. And I started fighting it, I started coming up with excuses, and I said, okay, I got my out. I'm going to call Coach Smith back, and I'm going to tell him the only way I'm coming there is I got to meet you in my house with my mom and dad and my fiance in Sugar Grove. Thinking there ain't no way this guy's going out here, right? So I call him, and I say, Coach, look, I said, would you ever be willing to drive to Sugar Grove so I can meet, you know, you can tell me about Shadron, meet my family? And he goes, yeah, no problem. 2 days later, the guy's in my house. I was like, oh my goodness. So that was my out, right? And so he sits there, he's telling me about all these things and fishing, and I'm a big fisherman. Okay, I live by the 4 F's. Faith, family, fishing, then football. Okay? And I love to fish. And so he started talking about this, and when the whole conversation was done, I mean, I'm a really anal person, that's why I'm a coach. And I literally had my list of questions. My first question was, Coach, I said, you know, how good are you guys at Shadron? Because again, I got to go somewhere that is going to be productive and make the playoffs and throw the ball and do all these things, right? He goes, well, honey, he said, we weren't very good last year. We were 1-8, but we'll be better this year. It's my first year there. And I said, okay, strike one. And then I go, okay, what kind of quarterback situation you got? He goes, well, we lost our senior, Neil Anthony, but we got this freshman coming up from Congress, Texas. He's really good. He's 5'7", strike 2. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm just going to cut through the chase and get right to it. I said, Coach, have you ever had anybody from Shaggy go to the NFL? And he goes, yeah, we did. His name was Doug Miller, 1935. Strike 3. And so, again, I'm thinking, really, God? I mean, you got to be thinking, crazy God, right? It's like, but man, sometimes the most obscure, he uses the most obscure people in the most obscure things because all things work for the glory of him, Romans 8:28. And I just kept dwelling on this and talking about this and praying about this, and I said, God, I'm going to go. And I went on complete faith. Okay, I told Diana, I said, babe, I got to go. 4.5 months, got my eligibility, came back, we got married in July of 1988, sorry. And we trekked out to Shadron to be her first time, and at the end of that year, had another good year at Shadron, but still nobody was calling, form letters, which mean nothing really. And then all of a sudden, this guy by the name of Bill Johns, and what he is he's a combine scout. Okay, he's not a scout for one team specifically. What he is they just did the combine, as you know, last weekend, right? And his job is to find the top 300 players in all of college football. All right, Wisconsin, Illinois, USC, Shadron State, right? I mean, the top 300 players. Think about this now. How in the world is a guy from Shadron State going to get invited to the top 300 in college football? Jesus Christ. The only thing. And so, sure enough, he puts me through the workout. At the end of his workout, he was doing it for 31 years. And he said, Don, I got to tell you, he said, this is the greatest workout I've ever seen. In 31 years. And I'm not saying it to brag, I'm just telling you that's how God works. And to his dying day, he never told me what I ran before, but his wife gave me the stopwatch that he timed me in at the funeral. It's kind of cool, and I still have that stopwatch. It's a red one. And so all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, I get this envelope, or letter, with the NFL emblem on it. It said I got invited to the 1989 February Combine. I mean, think about that. Yeah. So now comes the third most compelling part of this whole story. I walk into the Crown Plaza of Indianapolis. I mean, complete unknown. There's Troy Aikman, Deion Sanders, Barry Sanders. I mean, they're all there. 1989 draft, one of the best drafts in NFL history. And I'm just looking at it, I'm thinking, and I wasn't nervous. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't nervous because I didn't even know what to expect. I had zero expectations. I walked in, Mike Barber was my roommate from Marshall University, where Randy Moss played. And I said, hey, Mike, how you doing? Nice to meet you. He goes, what's your name? I said, Don Beebe. And he goes, where are you from? I go, Shadron State. He said the same thing. She said, what? Where's that at? I said, somewhere in Nebraska. Okay, so he goes, and all of a sudden, no sooner did I say that, the door knocked, and the concierge was at the door of the Crown Plaza, and I opened the door, and there's 2 shoeboxes, orange shoeboxes. He goes, these are from Mike Barber. I said, oh, okay. So I walked over to him, Mike. He said, here you go. I go, what are those? He goes, those are my shoes that I'm going to run the 40 in. My agent sent me these shoes to run the 40 tomorrow. I said, agent? He goes, yeah, agent. I go, what's an agent? I didn't know what an agent was. Yeah, I'm pretty naive, guys. And he goes, you don't have an agent? I said, no. He said, man, you might be the only guy at the combine. I was. In 1989, I was the only guy to not have an agent. And he goes, well, what are you going to run? Okay, the 40-yard dash in. Could you bring it up? I'm going to show you what I ran the 40-yard dash in. This is a replica, okay, of the shoes that I wore. Right there. Now, this is the honest truth. He goes, what are you going to run the 40 in? I said, the shoes I wore in the building. And I looked down, and my right sole was half unglued like this. Okay? And he said, well, you just have one of mine. He was a size 12. I was a 9.5. That would have been like Bozo Circus. Okay? So I didn't know if I was going to do a rubber band or glue it or whatever. I didn't know what to do, but I chose to flop. Now, this is the third most compelling part. When I ran in a floppy fishing shoe, I broke the all-time NFL record in the fastest 40 ever recorded at the combine in a 4.25. Okay, and it tied that year with Deion Sanders in 1989. We both ran a 4.25. That record stood for 19 years until Chris Johnson broke it with a 4.23. Now, again, I don't say that to brag. I only say that because that's how that works. I mean, think about that, guys. I mean, how do you run routes with a shoe like that? How do you run a 40-yard dash with a shoes like that? Okay? And my only regret was I didn't keep that shoe. I wish I would have kept the shoe. I had to replicate one that what it somewhat looked like, but that's what it was like. Okay? And so when I got done from the combine, I fly back to Chadron, and on my doorstep of we call mother-in-law houses, about 600 square foot house. Our rent was $110, by the way. Okay? I love that house. Was the LA Raiders and the Green Bay Packers were on my doorstep before I got. As soon as I walked around the corner and they're on my porch, and he goes, "Man, you caused quite a stir in Indianapolis, didn't you, Don?" My life changed in 4.25 seconds. Okay, and I had to do 21 personal workouts. There were 28 NFL teams at that time, and I had to do 21 personal workouts. Just to put that in perspective, guys that come out of USC, Wisconsin, they'll do one, and everybody's there. Yeah, not when you go to Chadron. Okay, as soon as they come into town, you pulled out of class, which I never went to class that semester. I got pulled out. It almost seemed like every day doing a workout for an NFL team. And then came draft day. And then when the draft day came about, okay, we were sitting in there, wasn't even nervous, and the phone rang. It's Coach Beebe. And he said, "Don, I just want you to know we took you as our first pick in the 1989 draft." I was the 82nd pick, but I was the first pick because they didn't have a first or second round in 1989. I was the first pick. So you go from what I just told you, two years of college football, one of the smallest schools in the nation, then I had Division II then, okay, Chadron State to a first pick in the NFL. Come on, man. If that ain't Jesus Christ, I have no idea what it is, okay? And that's why I wrote a story, and that's why we're going to do a movie. It's all going to be centered on Christ, not me. I don't want 1 ounce of glory, okay? I want to give it all to Him because I do know this. When I stand in front of Him, I'm not going to stand in front of Him because I ran a 4.25 and flip-flop fishing shoot, or I caught a touchdown with the Packers, or won a Super Bowl, or won state championships with Roar Christian. No, I'm going to stand in front of God one day, okay, which we all are going to. Okay, if you're a believer and you love Jesus with all your heart, you're not going to stand for your sin. That's as cast as east from the west. Okay, as far as you can go. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a little tidbit. You know why they don't say north to south in the Bible? I'll tell you why. Because once it goes north, it goes south. Then once you get back going south again, it goes north again. But when you go east to west, you are always going east. There's a little tidbit for you. Never catches up to itself. That's why God put it that way. Okay? So, we're going to stand in front of Him, though, of what you've done for Him. That doesn't scare me. That drives me. And so I don't want to stand on stages about me. Okay? I don't want to stand football field in a wind about me. That's pretty shallow. Okay? I want it all to be centered on Christ. For what He's done for me in my life, and believe I've been through some tragic times and some tough times. God has gotten me through everything. Matter of fact, this past year, 27 years now coaching, being head coach. Last year at AU was the worst year by far. It was tough. It was really hard. But to see God work and see His glory, man, I tell you what, when Satan attacks, I kind of a badge of honor. I'll be honest with you. I'm like, bring it on, buddy. You picked the wrong guy. Because when I get up in the morning, my feet hit the ground, I want Satan to say, "Oh, crap, he's up." That's the way I approach life. Okay? And I'm never going to end that. Hopefully I'm never end that. That's just kind of my attitude. But here I am, the staple of my whole career, okay, was this play. I'm going to have him play. You already saw it, but I'm going to give you the inside view of this play.
Celebration and warmth. I'll give you the rest of it after this play. 4th down and 6. And right. Fumbles. Picked up by Leon left. Can he go all the way? It's a 60-yard run. He's being chased by Beebe. Watch out. Can he get across? No, they are not. That's going to be a touchback to Buffalo. And they'll call by the
Play has been ruled as a fumble in the field of play. The fumble went forward through the end zone and out of the end zone, creating a touchback. Buffalo's ball, 1st and 10.
Leon Love would have scored, but he slowed down to celebrate at the 5-yard line, and when he did, Don Beebe, hustling, stripped it away.
You know, no matter where I go, this is what, 30, I want to say almost 35, 40 years ago, 34 years ago. Okay, this play happened. I go every day, and I hear about this play for 30-some years. Not one day has gone by that I have not heard about it, either through a fan mail and a letter from a father, coach, or somebody, pastor around the country, okay? Or I'm in a crowd like this talking about this play. And this is how God works. Again, an hour before this game, it's in Pasadena. When I was 10 years old, okay, and a little boy in the backyard playing, I dreamed about playing in the Super Bowl. And that Super Bowl was Fred Biletnikoff with the Raiders in Pasadena. Kenny Stabler was the quarterback, Cliff Branch. And I'm thinking, man, that'd be so cool to play in Pasadena in the Super Bowl. The point is, I'm living a dream. Here I am, this would have been 1993, January 1993, I'm living a dream. And an hour before that game, I had to go out and I just had to spend some time and soak it all in. And I'll never forget when I got to the 50-yard line, I put a knee down on that 50-yard line, and I said a prayer like none other in my entire life. It was short and sweet. But I simply said, Lord, let your name be glorified more than mine today, more than any other time in my entire career, God. This moment, right now, in the greatest game ever created in sports, let me glorify your name, not mine. Okay? And I'll be honest with you, when I got up, I felt so good, man. I felt like the Holy Spirit just like swept right through me, and there was no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. I'm going to score the winning touchdown with a one-handed J.J. Jefferson stab in the back of the end zone and win it for the Buffalo Bills. And this was our third loss in a row. And I know, don't tell me I know. We lost 4. I get it, okay? But this was the third one. And I'm going to win. I'm going to win it. That's how I felt. Because that was my selfish ambition. That's what I wanted. But God said, no. No, you're going to be known for running a guy down in a blowout. 52-17 was the score this time when I did this. With 4 minutes and 50 seconds left in the game. And when I was running a go route down the left side of the field, and I saw our quarterback drop back, okay, he's ready to throw it, and then he gets hit, okay, and then he fumbles it, and Leon Lett picked it up. I mean, it was like automatic. You saw how fast he picked it up. And this is the first lesson I want everybody to learn, especially you small guys in here. How you react to something is your true character. Let's be honest with you. When something happens, even in our own houses, if you got a minute to think about it, or 5 minutes, or a half hour, or a day, most good people are going to make the right decision, right? High character men are going to make the right decision. But when you have a split second, that's your true character. Now, why did I make that play? I got 2 words. And this is where I really want to talk to the dads. I made that play because of my dad. My dad grew up in a very abusive home. He didn't know what love was. He lived from when he was 10 years old, when my grandpa disowned him. Okay? From 10 years old all until he moved out of the house at 18, my grandpa never said one word to my dad. And they lived in the same house. So he never heard, I love you. He never went to anything that my dad did. Okay? My dad was not an athlete. He cared less about athletics. Okay? But my dad, when he gave his heart to God, okay, at 24 years old, he said then, he promised God, I'm going to change the legacy of the Beebe name. And boy, has he done that in spades. Okay? He had 4 kids, or there were 5 kids, 2 older sisters, 2 younger brothers, and me and them. And when I was 5, so in 1969, we started taking this family trip up north from Minnesota fishing. This will be our 56th year going, and now there's 63 Beebe family members that go on this trip. And every kid that's of age that understands salvation is saved and going to heaven. My dad is a living Abraham. And all he did was change the legacy of the name on the back of that jersey. I had to write some things down about my father that I thought would be interesting to share. This is just some of them. I never heard my dad swear. I never heard him yell at my mom or hit my mom. He worked a double shift so he could be at all 5 of his kids' games. And you know what? Every time I looked up, my dad was in the stands, and he worked nights hard. We ate dinner together every night at 6. We prayed together. 54 years now. Now it's 56, okay? 18 grandkids, 23 great-grandkids. We all live within 20 minutes of each other. Except my 3 children live in Nashville. I must have been a horrible father. I don't know. only 3 of the 60-some that live outside the 20 miles. Guys, that's family. That's tradition. And I gotta tell you, there's some of the things that I've learned over my years of being a father myself. And one thing I realized to be a great dad, okay, is you gotta understand that things in the house are taught, not taught. So what you say means nothing. What you do screams miles. So that's why I treat Diana the way I treat Diana, is because I never saw my dad do things to moms. Okay, my mom. I saw a man. Was he perfect? Nobody's perfect. There's only one perfect man. His name is Christ. We're all messed up. Okay, but with Jesus, we have all we need. Okay? And so, and I always believe this is what you are at home is what you are. You know, yeah, I can stand on the stage and this suit is, you know, great, but I can go home and be the most miserable person in the world. All you gotta do is ask her. Ask my kids. Okay? And so I really believe that what you are at home is really what you are. I heard this once by Tony Evans, and it kind of stuck with me. I was just listening to it in the car, and I was like, man, that really resonated. He said, if you have a messed up dad, okay, you got a messed up marriage. If you got a messed up marriage, you got a messed up family, you got a messed up family, you got a messed up church, you got a messed up church, you got a messed up city, you got a messed up city, you got a messed up state, you got a messed up state. You got one messed up country. Gotta be there, right? You want a better country? You gotta have a better state. You got a better state, better city, better city, better church, better family, better marriage, better marriage. You gotta have a better dad. God says it starts with us. We gotta get right, guys. And I'm gonna tell you, the biggest downfall in our country right now is our dads. And how do I know that? I see it every day. I've been coaching kids for a long time. And dads are screwing it up, man. And I'm just here to encourage you. Man, when you go home tonight, love your kids, love your grandkids. And it's never, I mean never, too late. You always have hope. Just like my dad. And believe me, if you grew up and you had a situation like my dad, you can change it. Change it. Okay? And you young guys, maybe sure like I said already, marry a godly woman. Send yourself into godly friends. James Dobson, who I think is a great family guy. Everybody knows that, right? Well, his wife Shirley, okay, he was getting ready to do this speech the next day. He's in his den, he's working on his laptop, and Ryan, his son, is 10 years old at this time. And this is James telling the story. And he said, his son came to the Dad, can you come outside and play a little bit? Son, I can't. I got to catch a flight next morning. I got to get this done. He goes, okay, that's all right, Dad. And Shirley came to the door like any wife should. And Shirley says, you know what, James, if you want to see your son later in life, you need to go see him now. And I got to tell you, when I heard that, that really resonated with me. I could have coached at different levels, you know what? I chose not to. I know what's important in life. Christ, my wife, and my kids. And nothing that I do can come before that. If I screw that priority up, okay, I screw up everything. And I'll leave you with this. When I get called to go home to heaven one day, and if all they can do is talk about Super Bowl championships or winning football games, you know what? I've been a messed up dad. I've been a really bad husband. I don't want to be known for that. I want to stand in front of God and He's going to say, I pray that He says, well done, my good and faithful servant. You were great, Diana. You were great to your 4 kids. You were great to your 5 grandkids. Guys, that's way more important than anything in life. And the greatest commodity that you can give your son, your daughter, your grandkids, one thing, time. Give it to them. It's all they ask for. It's all your kid asks for. And you might argue that they want an Xbox or something else, but believe me, they want your time. And that is the honest truth. Okay? Well, I appreciate you guys coming. I'm going to take some questions now. I got, 15 minutes or so, right? 10, 15 minutes? Take some questions?
Yeah. The first question, show the next picture. This is the first question. This is mine. You don't have to give me a book for this, but I want to know what happened on this play because we watched that video. That just looks painful.
Yeah. Well, this was in my rookie year, actually. 1989, we're playing the Cleveland Browns, and first playoff game of that year. I was coming across the middle, about 20 yards downfield, and Jim threw it a little high. Jim tell he was a quarterback. He threw a little high, and it's my job to go get it. I never feared coming across the middle. And I actually enjoy it. I got to the point where I enjoy taking shots. But this one, once I got my legs taken out from me, and I landed, you can see right in the crown of my helmet. I've actually had chiropractors and doctors tell me that if I would have landed just a slight angle this way or that way, I could have snapped my neck with that pressure right there, and who knows what would happen, right? But the good luck was with me, but yeah, so I still have ill effects from that. My whole right side will lock up on me every once in a while. I got to go get it worked on from a doctor, chiropractor, and everything. But would I do it all over again? In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. First question. Yes.
I got it. It's okay.
Oh, you got it? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask because I've just listened there, and I remember the catch, and I know you played for the Packers. But my only question is, I mean, beyond the fact that that picture was awesome when you got that fumble, but when you got to be a free agent, did Dave Tobin ever try to sign you?
Did who?
Tobin. Did Tobin?
Actually, I saw Tobin at a Chicago Bears charity golf event, and I walked up to him. This is like after my 6th year in the league or 7th year in the league. I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, Mr. Tobin, how you doing?" He goes, "Hey, man, how you doing?" I said, "I just want to recall a day back in May of 1986. He goes, "Yeah, what?" He goes, "Well, you were sitting 2 rows behind me, and I asked for a tryout, and you said it was crazy." He goes, "Oh, that never happened. That's a lie." I said, "Yes, it was, Mr. Tobin." No, he denied it. So he said he didn't remember, but he never looked at me. I was just a rude bear guy, right? I'm messing. Yeah, Tommy was. Yeah, I remember Tommy. Yep. Just a little different wide receivers, but yes. Yes. Oh, you get a book here. Yeah. Then you can pick out any one of those 3 that you want. Go ahead.
All right. Saw during Super Bowl week, there was a story that you can't wear your Super Bowl ring because you broke your finger from a certain pass from a certain quarterback.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
Sure. So it was August of 1980 or 1996. My first camp with the Green Bay Packers, and I turned to look, and the ball was on me so fast, and Favre throws missiles. I mean, he throws it so hard that when I put my hands up, it blew my ring finger out. You can see that. We call that Favreism. Okay. Anybody that played 2 years or more with Favre, you got some disfigured in your fingers. I had to have major surgery for a finger. They cut me open here, and they cut me underneath and replaced my finger because I had gloves on, and my finger was in like 2 different areas. And I'm looking at it like, oh my! So I just popped it back in, and then just taped these 2 fingers, and I kept playing. And then it was October, and my finger wasn't getting better. And I said, I'm going to get X-ray. So I went to X-ray, and it was still a fraction. I never got back in the joint. And they said, well, you got to have surgery. I said, hey, that's not an option. I said, we're going to Super Bowl. Okay, I'm not missing. So I played the rest of the year with a broken finger, and then I had surgery in February after that season's over. But here's the best part about this is I learned very quickly that when you go into training camp with Brett Favre, you better be ready. So I had a jugs machine that would shoot footballs out, okay? And I would do hundreds of balls every day, okay? Just put it in garbage cans and just kept it. And the ball would be sitting in the jug machine right here. Someone would be in that and would shoot them out. I'd be standing right here 6 inches away from the ball at 65 miles an hour. And that person would shoot that ball out. I'd just go boom. And what it did is it deadened my hands. All the nerves in your hands. It's like martial arts. Have you ever done martial arts training? Okay, yes. Yeah. So what they do is they'll just smack each other's shins really hard together, and they deaden all those nerves. And so you can just, so it never bothered me to catch a far ball anymore. So you do crazy things when you play with guys like him. Yeah. Yes. Correct. Yeah. There's a little trivia for you. Still today, I didn't know this until I went back to a Packer game some years later, and they were passing milk cartons around. And on the milk carton it said, "Who holds the record for most yards on Lambeau Field?" And it was Don. Thank you, Don Hudson, and James Lofton, and one other guy. I can't remember his name. No, it was Sharp. It was another guy. Anyway, and I was like, oh, it was Don Hudson. Thank you. Next question. Give me a young man here.
Right here.
Yes.
Do you like the Packers or the Bills better?
Yes. Okay. Good question. Come here, buddy. So do I like the Packers or the Bills? What is that? Is that a Bills? Oh, is that Bulls? The Bills. Oh my goodness, that's Josh Allen. He's pretty good, isn't he? Yeah. So I really like you. You're my favorite person in this whole building. So who do I like? This is what I say. I get this question all the time. Who's better, Kelly or Farmer? What team do you like better, Packers or Bills? I always use the analogy of this. I go to my garage. Now I don't have this, okay? I drive around in a beautiful cross, okay? That I go in my garage and there's a Lamborghini or Ferrari. Which one are you going to drive today, right? They're both great. Now, in saying that, if they met in the Super Bowl, no doubt I'm going for Buffalo Bills. I mean, listen. 4 in a row. Those people in Western New York and the organization, everybody in Buffalo Bills Mafia, man, they deserve a Super Bowl championship. And we're all going to celebrate when they finally pull this stupid thing off, right? Okay? But Buffalo would be the team that I would choose. Yes, big dog, back there.
When you were 10, have you ever beaten a person 10 times your size in a race?
Go ahead, tell me what's the question, Pastor.
When you were 10, have you ever beaten a person 10 times your size in a race?
Did I ever what?
Did you ever beat somebody 10 times your size in a race?
Oh, 10 times my size. I bet you have, haven't you? Yes, you have. I can tell. That's a good question. Did I ever beat anybody? No, but I will say this. I used to go on the east side of Aurora and with my friend, and we were friends with all these guys, and we would bet dollar bills if I could beat anybody in East Aurora. Okay? Now again, looking like me going to East Aurora, probably wasn't, odds weren't with me, but I never lost. I made a lot of money racing against everybody in East Aurora. Anyway, next question. I'll take a few more. Yes. Yes, he was my hero. Walter Payton was my hero. And the reason he was my hero is because I love his work ethic, but more importantly than anything like that, I love his humility. When Walter Payton scored a touchdown, for you Bear fans that you remember Walter Payton, he would score a touchdown, he would always have his head down. And he'd let a lineman spike the ball. I don't think I ever saw Walter Payton spike the ball. Okay? And it's funny you asked that question because it was this video. I saw myself spike the football the first time on ESPN, and I was like, is that really the image I want to leave? And then if you know, I was doing the T-Bow before Tim came along, just so you know, okay? And I started to kneel and take a prayer because I felt like, I owed him all the credit. I didn't want any credit. Next question.
Do you have any pets?
No, I have no pets, but I grew up with dogs. I love dogs, okay? But I travel too much. Me and my wife travel too much to have dogs. It's like I have kids all over again.
In martial arts, I've never been kicked in the shin in martial arts. However, I've gotten the air knocked out of me sometimes.
I love martial arts. We got a grandson in martial arts already. I just love what it teaches you. Yeah. That's very good. Nice job, man.
Who are your
Go ahead.
Who are your top 3 favorite teammates?
Top 3 favorite teammates. Wow, great question. Top 3 favorite teammates. Man, you can go a lot of different directions on that one. Okay. Well, Frank Reich was my best friend for a while. We were roommates. Frank was the backup quarterback to Jim Kelly and Buffalo Bills, and we were roommates for 6 years. And we had a lot in common. It's funny, when we would go on the road and we would travel, and we would go into a hotel room. What do most guys do? They go to a hotel room and they find a remote. We actually found where it got. So me and Frank would go and then we'd share what we were going through, and we pray for each other, and we just shared the gospel with each other, and learned from each other. Frank actually became a pastor in Charlotte after he retired, and then he got into coaching. And now he is he just took a job a couple weeks ago. He's offensive coordinator in the New York Jets. And I told him why. So Frank would probably be at the top of that list. I'm very close with Steve Tasker. Steve Tasker should be in the Hall of Fame as the greatest special teams guy in the history of the NFL. Played with him for 6 years in Buffalo. Bill Schrader. I still talk with Jim quite often. Jim's been through a lot. Jim got saved, just so you guys know. Jim gave his heart to Christ after seeing his son, die at 8.5 years old. Matter of fact, for 8.5 years he was born and never could speak a word. And he screamed pretty much 24/7 because he was in such pain because he had what was called Krabbe's disease. And it was a disease of eating away his brain. And when he was born normal, and he caught it when it was like 6 months, and he started noticing something different with him. And that was hard on Jim. And then he beat cancer 3 times. And he finally woke up. God finally got him to wake up. Okay, isn't that cool? And now he travels around with his wife Jill, amazing woman, and they're sharing the gospel of Christ too. So it's pretty cool to see Jim. Knowing Jim the way he was, and now seeing him now, pretty cool. Next question. Yeah.
Who was the defensive back that you hated to play with?
Yeah, Dale Carter. Dale Carter of the Kansas City Chiefs. 6'2", 6'3", 4'3", mean as a rattlesnake. And he had long arms, man. I'm telling you, as a corner against a guy, he had long arms. That's a big advantage, especially against a short arm guy like me. He was my toughest guy to play against. Yeah, he was really good. He could have played. He could have been one of the greatest of all time. But I always tell you guys, talent doesn't win. X's and O's don't win. What wins is character, culture. Do the right thing. And if Dale Carter would have done the right thing, trained hard, and made good decisions in life, man, I think he could have been the best of all time. He's pretty good. Yes.
Anchor bar or Duff's?
Huh?
Duff's, like the chicken wings? For chicken wings in Buffalo?
Okay. Oh, you're talking about who?
Anchor bar or Duff's, yeah.
Okay, Anchor bar. What was the other one?
Duff's.
Oh man, I tell you what, my favorite. Actually, it's a quiet town down by Jim's in Elkinville. You from that area? Oh, you're from Buffalo. Yeah, the best we've ever had is down by Jim's cottage on the lake in Elkinville. We used to travel, believe it or not, we used to travel back in the late 80s, early 90s, and we just take different trucks and just punch 6, 7 guys in each truck, and we would go around all these high schools in these small towns. It'd be like coming into Morrison to the high school and playing the faculty. And we always had to go to the best chicken wings, okay, buffalo wings in the area. And they would always tell us, and then the whole town would follow us over to this place. We just, man, those are some good times. Let me just say this, okay? The Buffalo Bills fans, nothing against Packers, don't get me wrong, you guys are great. And it was awesome. I could have never chose 2 better places to play. But what we did in that 4 years, in the 6 years I was there, was unique. It was very unique. We had the organization, the right guys, and the fans, phenomenal. Every time I go back to Buffalo, you know what makes Buffalo different? Is when you go out into town, it's not like, what can you do for me, Don Beebe? It's what can I do for you, Don Beebe? Yeah, that is rural America, blue collar. I just love that place, man. But there's no way I live there. Too much snow for me.
How about one more question? It's 8 o'clock. We got time for one more.
Who's your favorite current NFL player?
My favorite current NFL player? Ooh. Well, Chad retired, so I can't Chad anymore. It's got to be Josh Allen. Who can't like Josh Allen? Anybody red-blooded American guy, I don't care if you're an anti-Buffalo Bill fan, you're still going to like Josh Allen. Man. Listen, I'm going to tell you, man, that guy right there is exactly what sports should be. He's 10 years old playing in the backyard on the big stages. That's what he is. And I'm going to tell you, Kelly and Farber a lot like that too. I never saw Brett Favre in a bad mood. Of course, he was on Vikings and drunk all the time. I'm messing with him. No, but seriously, I never saw Brett in a bad mood. Always practical joking. Jim was always in a good mood. They just loved what they did. know, and it's sad to see sometimes some of these guys, you know. But Josh, man, he's broke from the old school mode. I love that guy, man. One day he's gonna get it done in Buffalo. You know? Oh yeah. I tell you, that's a big man. I mean, you don't realize how big that dude is. I mean, he's 6'5", 250, 260 guy, and he can run. Yeah, I said, I look like a midget next to him when I was standing next to him. I had a picture with him. I'm like, oh man, I'll show him with that one. All right. So anyway, I appreciate you guys having me out here. I'm gonna go in there with my wife and sign some books for you guys if you want anything. Guys, just keep putting the Lord first, man. Can't go wrong doing that. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much, Don. And you can get some materials out there and talk to Don, get an autograph if you want. I'm going to just dismiss us with a word of prayer tonight. Lord, we thank you for a great evening together. Thank you for Don and his testimony, what you've done in his life. And I just pray we just take what we've heard tonight, apply it to our own lives, to follow you wholeheartedly. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, have a great night. We'll see you next year.